Hello everyone, and I am finally back. Oh my god, it's been forever. But I thought I'd come back with a bang and say, you know what? Ritual cards, they're fucking awesome. Duels of the Roses had a lot of them. So you know what? We're going to find out how to get all of them and which ones are actually worth something or not. So with that, let's go. Alright, starting off, we've got Curse of the Millennium Shield that you can get from Pegasus. And you have to sacrifice 3 monsters with above 2,000 defense to summon the Millennium Shield, of course. Now, Millennium Shield has 0 attack, 3,000 defense, but its ability is that while in defense mode, all monsters gain 1,000 defense, including itself. So you basically have a brick wall of 4,000 defense sitting between you and whatever monster your opponent is throwing at you. And basically, that can be used in virtually any deck to basically hold off an opponent, to stall, or just give your opponent a massive wad of damage when they try and attack it. Of course, the obvious downside here is, well, Millennium Shield has absolutely 0 defensive capabilities, unless you want to be cheeky and use Shield and Sword, but hey, we'll get into that later. Next up, we've got the Blackluster Ritual. You can get this bad boy from Yugi, and you have to sacrifice Gaia the Fierce Knight and 2 monsters with below 1400 attack to summon the badass Blackluster Soldier. He's got 3000 attack, 2500 defense, and his effect is that when in battle against dragons, he gains 600 attack and defense. Overall, he's got some pretty fantastic stats. His ability is pretty useful with the overabundance of powerful dragons in the game. And, I mean, come on. It's the goddamn Blackluster Soldier. We all know we want him. Alright, next up we've got the Yamadron Ritual, which you can only get by reincarnating cards, namely Fake Traps. And you have to sacrifice a Beast Warrior, a Dragon, and a Pyro monster to summon Yamadron, who has 1600 attack, 1800 defense, and his effect is that when battling and when flipped face up, he turns squares into normal terrain. Gotta say, his stats are really lackluster for a ritual summon, and his effect is also rather lackluster. There are better versions of it that can more suit any kind of deck. Honestly, I would say pass on Yamadron completely. There's not much here to make him worth it. Now we've got the revived Serpent Night Dragon Ritual, which you can get from Mai. And you have to sacrifice Darkfire Dragon, a Warrior, and a Winged Beast to summon the Serpent Night Dragon, who's got 2350 attack, 2400 defense, and his effect is that he gains a 900 point bonus when going up against spellcasters. The sacrifice requirements are kind of meh, but his ability can completely shut down spellcaster decks. But on the flip side, there are tons of dragons out there with better stats than Serpent Night Dragon. So unless you're going specifically for shutting down a spellcaster, or you just want a good costa for your drink, I would say leave this one up to your own personal opinion. Next up is the Garma Sword Oath, which you can get from Pegasus, and you have to sacrifice a Sword Stalker along with 2 warriors to summon the Garma Sword. He's got 2550 attack, 2150 defense, and his ability is that he gains an 800 point bonus when going up against spellcasters. Sacrifice requirements are great if you have a warrior deck specifically, and his ability is basically the same as the Serpent Night Dragon. So overall, I would say this is a great card for warrior decks, but if you don't have one, then it's honestly up to your own choice if you use it. There are probably better options than him. Now for the Beastly Mirror Ritual, which you get from reincarnating cards, and you have to sacrifice a Wicked Mirror, a Fiend Reflection, and 1 Fiend to summon the Fiend's Mirror, who has 2100 attack, 1800 defense, and his ability that, while in face-up defense mode, the summoning cost for your opponent is increased by 1 star. First off, the sacrifice requirements for this are pretty damn bad. 2 of those necessary monsters aren't that strong, and his stats alone aren't that great, though his effect can be strategically useful if your opponent is going for a high summoning cost deck. But again, the effect is debatable, so this is again another card that's up to your own discretion. Personally, I'm not so much of a fan of the Fiend's Mirror myself, but hey, maybe you are. And next up we've got Commencement Dance, which you also get by reincarnating cards. You sacrifice Water Emotics, a Winged Beast, and a Warrior to summon Performance of Sword, who's got 1950 attack, 1850 defense, and ability is that she gains 900 bonus points when going up against warriors. Her sacrifice requirements are pretty bad, her stats are also pretty bad for a ritual summon, and her effect is rather situational. Personally, I would say only go for this card if you're a fan of it, or if you're looking to just really hard shut down a warrior deck. But if you are, then might I turn your attention to Construct of Mask, which you get by reincarnating cards, and you have to sacrifice 2 Fiends and a Mask of Darkness to summon the Mask of Shine and Darkness, who's got 2000 attack, 1800 defense, and his effect is that he gains a 900 point boost when going up against warriors. His stats, again, are only decent for a ritual summon. They're not that good, but again, he's basically a better version of Performance of Sword. The only thing Performance of Sword has over Construct of Mask is a 50 point extra in defense, which I don't think any of us care about personally. So again, Construct of Mask, basically a better version of Performance of Sword. Now we've got another big boy ritual, the Dark Magic Ritual. You can get this card from Yugi, and you have to sacrifice the Dark Magician and 2 monsters with below 1400 attack to summon the Magician of Black Chaos, who's got 2800 attack and 2600 defense. First off, it's the Magician of Black Chaos, so he's naturally badass, and his stats are pretty damn good. But also, he doesn't have an effect, and the Dark Magician who you sacrificed only had 300 less attack. So, overall, while he may not be the most useful spellcaster, he's definitely one of the most badass spellcasters, so take that for what you will. Now we've got the Fortress Whales Oath, which you get from Mako, and you sacrifice a Mech Bass and 2 fish monsters to summon the Fortress Whale, who's got 2350 attack, I believe, 2150 defense, and automatically kills warrior types in battle. Got pretty decent stats, pretty decent sacrifice requirements, and his ability is situationally amazing. It's even better than not Construct of Mask, Mask of Shine and Darkness at shutting down warrior decks. But this is a card personally up to your own preference. Best at shutting down warriors or in fish decks, but it can still see a little use here and there outside of them. Now we've got the Javelin Beetle Pact, which you can get from Weevil, and you sacrifice a Hercules Beetle and 2 insects to summon the Javelin Beetle, who's got 2450 attack, 2550 defense, and his ability is that he gains a 600 point bonus against dragons. Now his stats are pretty great all around, as are his sacrifice requirements, and his effect is rather decent considering the overabundance of dragon type monsters. Personally, I feel like he doesn't get much use outside of insect decks, as his ability is basically, well, a less efficient version of Black Luster Soldier, but for insect decks, he can make a perfect addition to almost any of them. And now for the Puppet Ritual, which you get by reincarnating cards, and you have to sacrifice a Mysterious Puppeteer and 2 machines to summon the Psycho Puppet, who's got 2000 attack, 2350 defense, and his ability is that if Mysterious Puppeteer is your deck leader, when Psycho Puppet is flipped face up, he gets plus 1500 attack and defense. This ability is situationally fantastic. If you can get Mysterious Puppeteer as your deck leader, I would highly recommend using Psycho Puppet. That being said, his sacrifice requirements are only kinda meh, and his stats without ability are also meh. So if you can play around the ability, I definitely recommend using Psycho Puppet. Resurrection of Chakra you can get from Tristan, and you have to sacrifice Versago the Destroyer and 2 monsters with under 1000 attack to summon Chakra, who's got 2450 attack, 2000 defense, and his ability is when defeated in battle, he resurrects next to your deck leader. He's got some pretty good stats, but his sacrifice requirements are pretty terrible. I mean, all 3 of those monsters are really bad, and his effect is only meh, in my opinion. I mean, if he got defeated in battle, resurrecting him doesn't seem like it would be overly useful, in my opinion. But honestly, this is one that I feel is also up to your personal preference, because he's still a good monster overall. Now we've got Revival of Sengenjin. I always fuck this name up. Sengenjin. You obtain this from Richard Slichin, and you sacrifice Millennium Golem and 2 Beast Warriors to summon Sengenjin, who has 2750 attack, 2500 defense, and his ability is that he gains a 900 point bonus against rock monsters. Guy's got some awesome stats. His sacrifice requirements are decent, but his ability is rather useless in my opinion because there aren't that many rock monsters to begin with, and I don't even think there are any rock monsters who are base stronger than Sengenjin in the first place. But he's still got some great stats, so if you want to use him, I say go for it. If you want to obtain the delicious Hamburger Recipe, you've got to start reincarnating some cards, and you'll have to sacrifice a Battle Steer, a Bioplant, and Wriggle to summon the Hungry Burger. He's got 2000 attack, 1800 defense, and his ability is that he automatically kills beasts in battle and gets a power-up in Toon Terrain. First of all, the sacrifice requirements for this guy suck ass. All 3 of those monsters, with the exception of Battle Steer, are terrible. And, well, honestly, his stats base are pretty bad for a ritual summon. However, his ability can be very, very useful. There aren't many monsters that are powered up in Toon Terrain, and killing beasts automatically is also a nice bonus. So I'd say only go for him if you can make particularly good use of his effect. Oh, and this is the big boyest, or however you want to pronounce it, ritual of them all. The Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon Ritual. You obviously get this card from Seto, and you have to sacrifice 3 Blue Eyes White Dragons to summon the Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, who's got a whopping 4500 attack and 3800 defense. Do I really need to say anything about this card? It's the Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. I know you all want it, so go out and get it. Why are you still here? Go out and get that Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. Novox's Prayer, which you get by reincarnating cards. You have to sacrifice a Mystical Elf and 2 warriors to summon the Skull Guardian, who's got 2050 attack, 2500 defense, and his ability is that he gains a 900 point bonus against fiends, and when flipped face up, gives all of your light monsters a plus 300 bonus. He's got some pretty good stats for a ritual summon, and his sacrifices are also decent. He also has a pretty well-rounded effect, especially since that power-up bonus works well on himself. So overall, I'd say this guy fits really well into light decks, but you can use him in almost any deck and find some relative success. So if you want to use him, I say go for it. Alright, now for one of my personal favorites, the Cosmo Queen's Prayer, which you can get from Manuidan Fablier's Skull Knight version, and you have to sacrifice the Dark Elf, the Queen of Autumn Leaves, and the Princess of Tsurugi to summon the Cosmo Queen. She's got 2900 attack, 2450 defense, and her ability is when flipped face up. She turns all squares in 2 adjacent squares around her into Yami terrain. She's got fantastic stats, a fantastic ability. The only big downside is that her sacrifice requirements suck ass. But if you're using a spellcaster deck, you should absolutely go for Cosmo Queen. No question about it. And now we've got Curse of the Trihorn Dragon, which you can also get from Manuidan Fablier's Skull Knight version. You have to sacrifice Feral Imp, Curse of Dragon, and Komori Dragon to summon, surprise, the Trihorn Dragon, who's got 2850 attack, 2350 defense, and no ability. Overall, he's got some great stats, but his ritual sacrifices are not the best, and he's a pretty generic monster overall. He's got some of the best stats of any dragon, and he looks badass though. So honestly, I'd say, if you want to go for him, go for him. His sacrifice requirements pretty much, like I said, suck, but you can work around those. God knows I did. If you want to obtain the power of the Zera ritual, you have to obtain it from Panic. And you have to sacrifice a King of Yamimakai and 2 fiends to summon Zera the Man. He's got 2800 attack, 2300 defense. Overall, Zera the Man is definitely one of the best, if not the best, fiend types out there. But unless you're using him in a Fiend-specific deck, I don't see much reason to go for him. There are stronger monsters out there. But if you are using a Fiend deck, I would definitely recommend going for him, because his ritual sacrifices complement that perfectly. So again, this is definitely one up to your personal preference. And now for the War Lion ritual, which you can get from Bakura. You have to sacrifice 2 beasts and Leogun to summon the Super War Lion. You have 2300 attack, 2100 defense, and his ability that while he face up, he can always move to space. Stats are decent, not the best. I'd say if you want to use this guy, he's useful in almost all decks.